Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone across the world.
Hello.
Whoever's watching, we're back with another episode of Conversations with Core Tafari Solutions. Welcome back. It is July
Welcome,
30th,
welcome.
Thursday. Can you
Yes,
believe July is gone already?
mind blowing. Time is flying. It is flying.
And listen. So we back here today. We hope everybody didn't miss us too much for the last 2 weeks. I'm actually in a different location today. So if you're wondering, why my background looks crazy, it's a real background, by the way. So, but
I was looking at that. I was like, is
yes,
that a fake one?
yeah,
Nah,
it's
this
real.
ain't
Look,
like all pictures.
this is my man cave. I'm in the man cave. I'm in
I
the man cave.
noticed. I noticed.
So we got a special guest on here today, and we're gonna let the special guest introduce himself. Um, so, Rich, welcome. Thank you for your time, man. Appreciate you carving out some time to come in and sit with us and talk with us, especially on our topic for today. If you want to be so kind to give an intro of yourself to the people, so they know
Yeah,
who.
for sure. I appreciate it. It's an honor to kind of be on you all's platform. Love what you all are doing. So just want to be here to add some value, right? It's great to be able to talk to like minds. So my name is Rich Gilliam, aka Rich Innovated. I'm the founder and CEO of STEM Plug. STEM Plug, our mission is really helping the next generation become problem solvers and critical thinkers. And we do that particularly through robotics. So, in the age of AI, where a lot of kids are consuming technology, we're helping kids become creators within technology, starting in elementary school. So, that's a little kind of short bit about STEM Plug. I don't know how you want to twist and turn the conversation. I can go deeper in my
Yeah, no,
background.
that's good.
And
Yeah, keep
Well,
going, keep going.
keep,
hold on. Before you jump in, though, maybe
yeah.
this can help you, right? My question is, my question to your last statement, you help kids become creative, right? What
Yep.
made you decide that that's what you were going to get up every morning to do? Because that's difficult, especially in today's age where phones and social media and gaming is a whole different thing. What was your drive? What's your driver? What's that about you that made you decide to do that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything kind of, I would say, really starts from my foundation. I come from the inner city of North Philly. Growing up, I didn't really have much motivation around me to really be anything in life seriously until like a later age, my later high school years. I got exposed to actually like the YMCA. The YMCA was very impactful for me in Philly. Got
Oh, wow.
involved in a program called Y Achievers, which showed me about college. Start going on different little college tours, coming to the South and different things like that. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Started checking that out, and yeah, from there, I came to North Carolina for undergrad, and my life definitely changed coming to North Carolina in 2011. Studied biology, and went through my career as a scientist early on, and then transitioned into engineering. But for me, I would say the goal of really wanting to reach back to like the next generation came from like later in my career. I would say really back in like 2019. I was probably like what it's probably like maybe 6 7 years in my career as an engineer. Started to actually here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I started to just give back to the community and started like a high school robotics team with
Mm,
students from the inner city of Raleigh. This was all their first time being exposed to robotics, and they remind me a lot of myself growing up in high school. But I started to notice some things of not only was this the first time that they were like really exposed to robotics, but they really lacked confidence and also the ability
mm,
to really like critically think about different things. So that right there was kind of like a game changer for me, and it was kind of my fuel motivation where like, wow, I need to like start with kids like at a younger age, right? And then that 2019 kind of took me on my journey to write like my first children's book. That was like a 3-year process, and it's been building since
Oh, wow.
then. So I would say that that journey kind of started from 2019, and then on top of that, the goal of really wanting to help kids be creators is like when I first like wrote my first children's book in 2022. I was still an engineer, so I started STEM Plug, but I was still an engineer. Never had the
Mhm.
goal of really creating STEM Plug to where it's at today. But when I was going to a lot of different schools sharing about STEM within this book, I was like, wow, I got to a point where I was like, wow, this is cool. I'm going to schools, I'm taking pictures with kids. They love the books, they love different things,
Mhm.
but I feel like they're just consuming STEM, right? Am I
Mhm.
really helping them feel like they're a creator within this? So then that was like kind of the next part there where we're like, started to talk to a lot of educators, parents, different things of like, how can I help with confidence, right? And we just kept hearing about hands-on learning, hands-on learning. And I got to a point where I was like, all right, my next books I'm gonna develop, I'm gonna have a physical product with it that kids can actually build and things like that. So that's how it kind of came all about. So it's really been a journey, step by step. Really, continuing to listen to the community that I want to serve, as well as just really also looking back to where I came from as well. And that's been like my journey of different steps.
Man, that's empowering.
It is. It's so amazing, and I'm so proud of you, Rich, because when we first met, we was just standing around at this networking event and just chopping it up, and just to be able to witness the growth in the process along all these years, coming out of COVID, and just what you've been able to do with this vision that you had, right? Because it started here, and and then for it to be in fruition. Like, I have one of the robots, and it works, and it's amazing, and it challenges you, and you still get excited to see it to the end. And so, I just really appreciate you being obedient, despite everything you've had to go through and still go through, whether that's internally or externally.
Yeah,
Nah,
man.
And
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that.
Go
go
ahead, T.
ahead, Corey.
No, go ahead, T.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, I think that's, with coming up with the topic of today, talking about rejection, you've done quite a bit. And I've grown to believe, like, nobody gets to having all these great things and all this attention coming to them without coming against pushback, without coming against closed doors, some no's. And but there's still this level of resilience that even through the no's and stuff, it's just like, psh, psh, you're not gonna stop me from my vision. And so that's, why I wanted to uh just introduce the topic of rejection and how we deal with it. 6 months have passed already. Over 6 months have passed for the year. And at the 6 month mark, it's kind of like a second New Year's. People are like, well, I'm going to, pivot, go in a different direction. This didn't work in the first half. Let's start over. Let's start over with the diet. Let's start over with the business ideas. Let's just start over. And so what happens is I'm finding that folks are starting over, going in a different direction, and in this pivot, they're facing rejection. They're trying something new, and it's not picking up like they thought it would. They realize what didn't work at first, and so they're like, okay, I got that information, great, now I'm going to do this. And whether, I quit my job, now I'm really going into entrepreneurship, and now it's not going like they expected. And so my first question to you is, like, times that you may have dealt with rejection, because it comes for us all. So that's another thing. I think we get surprised at, like, I'm going through this, I can't believe it. But just like death gonna come for us all, rejection will too. And so, with thinking about times that you've dealt with it, how have you, like, processed it, gotten through it, and just not let it stop you from, moving forward?
Yeah. Wow. That's a great question. I would say, even kind of going in before we go into rejection, right? Um,
Hmm.
so it definitely starts with like it again, I go back to that confidence part, right? Like you have to have confidence and you have to have
Mm,
faith in yourself. And
mhm,
I definitely get a lot of rejection. I'm a firm believer of like, you know, me being an entrepreneur in the startup life. I'm like, if I'm not getting a couple rejections a week, I'm not applying to enough things, or I'm not going into enough things, right?
mm.
So it all starts with mindset, right? But but
Mhm,
I will say, that is easier said than done, right? It's easy for me to say you have to have the mindset of just being able to take that rejection because something else will come. That's easy for me to say, right? You have to build that muscle, right? It's like just like working out in the gym, or where you have to kind of
mm,
really build that over time. But for me, I would say that my level of, and I'm speaking about, we can take this on a journey because where I'm speaking about is where I'm at in my life today, right? Um,
mhm,
I would definitely say for me, my level of when I do receive rejection, I always, I guess, take that as, I would say it's two-sided, right? I take level of
mhm,
inventory of, you know, my life, of where I came through to where I'm at to this point, of like, okay, this rejection um isn't just a no, it's just something for me to take this opportunity of where I can
mm,
improve, right? And also
mhm,
another thing for me, I would say that has been really where I've strived to this over the past few years, and it's been crazy because like sometimes it gets to the point of I be questioning myself, of just like, not questioning myself, but like, how are you even thinking like this? Like, how do you think like this? So I'll give you
mm.
an
Well,
example.
to add on to not to, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but I
no,
want
you
to
good.
add into what you just said there, right? Because along with the topic, there's the following part of that is how do we interpret it? So when you say you're talking to yourself about rejection, I guess the piece is how are you interpreting the rejection?
That's a good point. That's a good point. No, 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 that's great. So I was going to add to that is like, for me, a lot of times when I take rejection, um, and I'll give you a perfect example of this so it'll make sense. A lot of times when I take rejection, for me, this is how I move now currently. I take it as a moment of time of like, this was for somebody else. I got something bigger coming my way. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had that thinking now for about the past 2 years. And every time
Mhm,
that's happened, I've had something like bigger come my way that like I wasn't even
mhm.
expecting. And I know that's just from my like my faith, and just me, also having gratitude, and maybe I didn't get the opportunity, but this is for somebody else. And that level of thinking can be hard because it can be like, especially when you put time into something and maybe that you got like rejected on, or just anything, right? And you really
Yeah.
poured into it, and then it still didn't work out your way. Um, so
Yeah,
good question.
you touching on some things there, man. I've learned to ask the question: is the rejection worth my time of reflection? Right?
Mhm.
Meaning, is it surface level? Is it did I put my all into it? If I did, great. Then let me find out. Let me take a short period of time, if needed, to figure out where I need to correct or where I need to make another turn. Right?
Yeah,
Or because sometimes you can overthink the think and not overdo the do.
yeah,
Right? So because rejection plays a really big part on top of environment, influence, and culture. And when you plug that with self doubt, it I call it dancing with stars. You get one thought, now you have 15, 20 thoughts that comes along with it, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I'll pause there, but I'd share that thought.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was, because you just got me thinking. Because even like for me, I'm thinking of, when I'm thinking of rejection, right? I've had like multiple times that I would say where I've been rejected on certain things, but I still kept the opportunity. I still kept the relationship maybe going with that rejection, and they've actually like come back. Like that's actually recently happened to me, right? Like I was
Mm,
I was rejected on something, I was rejected on, and I can't get into like the nuts and bolts of exactly what it
Yeah,
is,
you don't
but
have to.
I was rejected on something, and then when I was rejected, I still kept the relationship with the person, because they told me the reason why I was rejected, so I still kept the relationship with the person. They actually introduced me to some other opportunities, and then of late, they actually kind of recently came back to me and was like, hey, like we want you to kind of check this out again. We're doing this again. Little did they know what they rejected me on of saying I didn't have, I was building up the whole entire time. But I wasn't even particularly building it for that. I was
Mm-hmm.
building up this particular opportunity just because of that feedback. It motivated me. I'm like, all right, I need to do such and such.
You want it.
So it's like always that with everything I'm saying, that foundation is knowing thyself, right? Knowing thyself and having confidence in yourself of just like, all right, if I might have got to know this time, at least I actually even put myself out there, right? A lot of people don't even put themselves out there because they're afraid of rejection, right? So one of the biggest things for me that I feel as though is my superpower is that I'm not afraid to fail, right? Like I'm
Mm.
not afraid to fail with anything. So you stop yourself from so many opportunities just because you're afraid of that rejection or failure. So
That's
Oh
so
man.
good, Rich. That's so good. They're not afraid to fail. I mean, both of y'all have said such a mouthful here. I've come across this thing recently. I don't know if y'all remember the whole trend about shadow work and these commitments, these shadow commitments, but how we can be committed to certain things that don't serve us. They may have served us at one point. They may have protected us, in childhood. And typically it's, a way that we go about doing things that protected us in childhood, but now in adulthood and with the things that we're trying to do, they hurt us. Those very things that protected us now hurt us. And so I think for those people who sometimes get angry and bitter for a long time in regards to rejection, they have to assess and think about, like, is this a lifestyle or an identity they've chosen to commit to? Um, and I say that because when you mentioned about just making the choice. First of all, you can acknowledge and be real if the rejection hurt, right? So it's not to say that it doesn't sting or you weren't disappointed, but when we talk about how long do you set in that, it sounds like, Rich, you don't settle in that for long. You're able to quickly kick the dust off your feet and keep it moving. It doesn't consume your identity. It doesn't define the value that you bring to the table. And that's shown when you were able to still keep that relationship with that particular individual. It wasn't anything where you're mad at them or you're taking it personal or you're angry. If anything, you use it as motivation to keep going. And so I think there's something powerful in the pivot of, how can I use this fuel? I may see it as a problem, but how can I quickly transition to now see this as an opportunity? Because there's opportunities everywhere. And a lot of times they're going to be nestled in the things that we look at as problems. And this is where it comes, the power of investing into being able to shift your mindset and how you view things, whether it's an investment of, having a routine of spending quiet time with God in the morning, whether it's an investment of watching YouTube videos that pour into you, or even getting a coach. But as part of that personal growth and development, definitely looking at um the tools and exercising, getting the resources that you need to shift your mindset. So Rich, did you have a coach with you through this, have you had coaches through your experience as an entrepreneur, and like to help you get to this point where you don't you don't stay in it long when you do face rejection?
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I definitely have mentors that pour into me, for sure. I've had mentors, really throughout my growth. And it's interesting for me. Like I was literally just talking to, I'm trying to remember where I was at. I was talking about this somewhere with somebody. But for me, like I've always, and I still have like people that I mentor, right, mentees, different things like that. But for me, I'm at a level of my life where like I'm continuing to grow and expand, and I'm having more and more people that are like mentoring and pouring into me. Right, I always want to be the student, right, because that's for me like where I feel as though I can continue to grow and to learn and to not be down on myself. So yeah, I definitely
Mhm.
have mentors from, I would say, different categories that kind of like pour into me in different realms. So yeah, that's definitely helpful. I would say for sure.
Well, you've had some foundational teachers and coaches.
Yeah,
Situationally, why? Right? I'm going in the basement real quick.
for sure.
Right? Let me go get some info out of the basement. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
let's
bring it
basement for sure.
upstairs. Right? So you
Don't
again,
trip now.
environment
Don't trip
plays a
when you go
part.
in the basement
Yeah,
now.
I'm good. I'm holding
Lace
on
up
to
the
it.
shoes.
Right? Yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Um, environment. You grew up in Philly.
Yeah,
That's an environment that you got to be aware. Right? It teaches you your instincts get taught, whether consciously or unconsciously. Right? Um, to be aware, and that awareness quickly builds confidence within yourself. Right? So let's call that undirected energy, if you will. Okay. Now, flipping that over to your engineering. Um, engineers, what do engineers do? They focus on solving the problems
Mhm.
in foundations, right? There's never not an issue that can't be solved when you're focusing on engineering, right?
Mhm.
And I said, I'm bringing this back somewhere too. So with rejection, a lot of people, it's all rejection is about where do you place it, or how is your ability to reconcile or to have inflection placed. It's about position, because at some point in time, whether you have hurt feelings or not, you still have to be able to separate the two to come back to where you can gain clarity,
Mhm.
right? Because um, logic and clarity automatically gets turned off when emotions and feelings are confused, right? And so I say a lot of this, say, because you've been saying some really good points, and I'm big on trying to give people a place where they can land where they currently are and take the next steps to figure out how to get out from where they are, right? Um, I don't talk about this much, but I'm going to attribute something here. So I originally was into architecture. I went to school for architecture. I was young at the architecture aspect of the world. I started going to universities and colleges up north for summer programs, starting in about the seventh grade, all the way until I graduated high school. Um, and so, what that taught me, because it was outside the community. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, by the way. So
okay.
that taught me a lot being out. you know, I was in a different world amongst different people, and every summer that I was at the program, I was with different people from all over the world, right? Not just necessarily in the tri-state area. Um, but those things taught me how to figure out how to build with things are weak, things you build things to be strong, certain things get weak over time, so you got to go back and redo them, right? But the goal is to make sure the structure is sound so it can go high and as wide as it needs to, right? And then you able to use certain levels and measurements to look at the smallest thing that might be off that can contribute, because if cornerstone is not placed correctly, the whole building could be off. Make sense?
Yeah.
That's part of engineering too. So I had to take some of that, and so I'm relating that back to two things. A, I'm happy and glad that the program that you currently have, where you're teaching these students, um, is going to give them a place to come back to, whether they stay with the program as they get older. They now have a foundation of figuring out how do I apply my engineering skills to these situations. So same with me. Fast forward, I apply architecture, engineering, all of those pieces, environmental, all of those undercurrents of where wetlands are on a property. All of those things I've applied it to my life personally and professionally. A place to go back to give me the direction that I need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's the got you on that.
And so when you have those foundational points, it helped me in sales, because then I got into sales. And that's a long story. But sales, one thing about sales, every day you're not the same person the next day, because you constantly go through rejection. And so the question is it me or is it them? And it's always, you start with you and you say, well, where do I need to tweak to improve so I can get these sales, right? And so on and so on and so on. And so these are just some key points to the topic, to your feedback and the information that you're sharing, Rich and Tafari, with your information that you're sharing. I think we're all saying a lot of the same things, but one thing I notice is people don't have a way. A lot of people are the flag and not the flag pole, or they're a flag and don't have a flag pole. They're just kind of withering down the road when they bump into things. And I think it's important, as we dive deeper into these conversations, is to give people places to land. As far you gave some instances of coaches, and who was your mentors, and who are people's mentors and experiences along the way. Those are really good foundational points, but we don't want to stop there. I'll pause.
Yeah,
a lot.
I want to come back because I'm not sure if I talked clearly enough about the commitment thing, because you can choose to be committed to rejection. But one of the things you mentioned, Rich, was like you have like learned to accept it because something else will come. So like you're committed to opportunities, and in spite of rejection, like this is what as a matter of fact is coming. And sometimes people are committed to struggle, so their life always reflects struggle because that's what they're committed to. That's the choices they make, the actions they take. It lines up to this commitment. And the ability to say, I'm not going to be committed to feeling like I'm a reject, or I'm not good enough, or it's about me. It takes humility. It takes intentional decision making and not being reactive. Like, it's not like, oh, because it's happened to me, now it changes how I move, when this is a part of your foundation, as you mentioned, Corey. Like, what's a part of, as an entrepreneur, you have to define like what is a part of your foundation, your standard, your values, and your commitments. And if it's, hey, I'm committed to seeing opportunities, I see no problems. I'm committed to being confident. I'm not going to go anywhere and feel like I'm not supposed to be in the room. Right? So I think people lose sight that they have the ability and the power to make a choice and say, this is what I'm going to commit to now. Because either way, we're making choices. Either way we are. So you can choose to stay here, or you can say, nope, I'm going to go over here. But either way, you've made a choice. What you got, Corey?
I just want to piggyback off of that. Is it a matter of making the commitment, or is it a matter of the programming that influences the decision to stay committed to something that's that doesn't work, right? Because I don't think anyone wants to commit to continuously being rejected, right? Programming has to play a part. Now, in the case of
What's the
personal,
difference?
what
What's
you
the
mean? What's the
difference?
difference? Well,
You're
okay,
saying programming and
yeah,
you're saying choices.
no,
Or is
yeah,
it are you comparing programming and choices? Or
no, I'm
like the
saying,
programming and commitment, programming and their desires?
well, because you said people can make a commitment to stick to X, right? And my
Yeah,
question is it just them intentionally committing to it, or are they programmed to believe a certain thing that influences their decision to commit to rejection? Let's use that example. You said some people commit to rejection, right? Is that programmed?
subconscious it's subconsciously committed to it.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, yeah. So I'm saying, so I'm bringing it. We saying the same thing.
That's what
I
I
want to.
thought. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we're saying the same thing. But again, people got to be able to land, because some people will say, "No, I'm not committed to. I don't like rejection," but you're still making the same decisions, right?
Correct.
And so Rich, we go back to our episodes. We talked about decisions, following decisions, decisions, believing decisions, and decisions being loyal to decisions, right? And but they got to come from somewhere. So where in the programming aspect do you have to identify where your subconscious commitments are coming from? Because if you don't identify the programming, it's easy to get continuously to go down that rabbit hole of programming. Does that make sense?
I
Yeah,
think it
no, that
does.
makes sense.
Was you gonna say something, Rich?
No, I was just
His
agreeing
brain
with
work.
you. That
His brain
definitely,
working right there.
yeah, my brain working. Another one of my superpowers is I'm a listener. So I'm listening to what you all are saying. So I'm just in taking it. But yeah, that definitely makes sense. And as you both were all talking, it's funny that we're having this conversation because I've been heavy on all of my decisions that I've been making over the past few years. I try to look at them within a bucket, right? And the bucket is on one side is survival mode, and the other side is sustainability. And I always kind of look at my decisions of like, okay, am I making this decision out of survival mode, or am I making it out of sustainability? I came from survival mode. The survival mode, I mean, to be honest, that grind, that different things got me to where I'm at today. But the way I want to continue where I want to go to is sustainability, right? So it's being able to understand and just really, I would say where you're at in life, right? So like you said, like I think you were having on the Corey, you got to have those things within your toolbox as well, right? To be able to handle the rejection and different things like that as well. So
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I mean, that even goes to the last question, the question that we asked the last two episodes, Tafari and myself. What is the one thing you've consistently been doing that may no longer deserve your consistency anymore, right? And so,
Mhm.
again, being able to ask these things to position yourself for, I guess, a different response, a different understanding, a different answer from what you've
yeah,
been telling yourself or even receiving from the programming around. Make
yeah,
sense? And so,
no, that's for sure.
yeah, and I think, again, I'm gonna go back to your STEM program. You're teaching children conflict resolution. You're teaching them how
Mhm.
to make decisions, right? Making decisions is knowing how to think and make decisions is the most important piece of life, right? I was doing some research the other day, and I found this paper, this white paper that talked about thinking. And my cousin and myself have this saying. We said you should think about that thought before you thought about thinking about that thought. Sounds confusing. Don't worry
Yep.
about it. We just right. But thinking, people overlook or misuse the understanding of thinking as if it's relative, that everybody should be a thinker, when 9 times out of 10 we have to be taught how to think. Now, it's either we go someplace and we get educated, or our culture or our environment will have opportunities for us to learn how to think, but then we have to apply ourselves to learn how to think. And your program is teaching kids how to think outside of themselves.
Yeah.
Look past yourself into a product, into a material thing that has relevance in the world, and how to solve for X. And it may not be a problem now, but let's try to determine what the future may hold, so we can come up with a solution for that. When that actually arrives, we have a solution. We done tested it out for the last 15, 20 years. Here's your fix.
Yeah. No, that's that you hit it right on the bar, and I want to kind of go. I'm gonna take it back a step, right? Because when I was saying that I was working with when I was working with a high school robotics team in Raleigh, right? I'm gonna be honest. So for me as an engineer, when I first came into the space, I was in a very technical role, right? I have to critically think with everything that I do, right? So when I started working with the kids, this is my first time. In my head, I was thinking that, oh, they're gonna be able to think out these different things. But going back to what you just said, I had to take a step back. I was like, wait, I learned all these skills through me being an engineer, me being able to critically think. I had years of training and different things like that. So now if I can be able to take the knowledge that I have, right, of all of the different, I call it bilingual, all of the different areas that I come from me being raised in the inner city to going to college to being an engineer for over years, and now be able to help them install and bring this confidence into them as a child, as a high school, middle school, elementary school. I mean, what can stop them, right? Because it's like you said, it's that point of helping them be able to learn those skills to be able to think. Because everybody just is, that's not something that we just have, right? There's life goes at us, right? Going back to that survival mode, right? When you're in survival mode, a lot of times you're not thinking, right? You don't have no opportunities to think. Things are just happening, right? And a
You
lot
got
of
the
from our culture, if you come from an underrepresented area, you don't have time for all that, right? You gotta but when you can look at it as an angle of this can actually, I can take the skills of where I come from or my environment, and this can actually increase what I want to do. That's the flip right there, right? Looking at it from that kind of standpoint. So
yeah, no,
So,
that's
Rich, let me ask you. Let me ask you what
uh,
advice would you give someone who's facing not inconsistent, consistent rejection? What advice would you tell them?
so first I would say if you're receiving constant rejection, I would say take a moment and look at what exactly is that rejection, right? Because you may have been getting rejected, but you may have been actually improving, right? So sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
rejection, it is a rejection, but it's still something that you are constantly making improvements to the place that you want to go to. So that first level of rejection is reflection, right? So that I would say reflection is that first level. After you're able to reflect, it's important to have people within your community to now reflect that too, right? Be able to share your honest thoughts and your honest opinions of maybe how you
Mm-hmm.
feel, but also be willing to be able to be poured into from that person that you may trust on, where they see it. Like, hey, maybe your messaging isn't correctly on this. Like, I see what you're saying to me, but maybe the way that you're putting this out into the world is causing that to be, really in a rejection way. So those are two of the big things I would say is really reflection, and then going into that area of being able to uh, really put it out to share to somebody that you trust to kind of get their feelings and their thoughts. So whether that is a coach like you, to to really pour into them. So
I hear you loud and clear. The internal reflection, external reflection, and then keeping an open mind is what I
yep,
got down here.
yep, for
Yeah,
sure.
so Corey, do you have anything you want to add as far as advice you would give someone? Because that's my last question. That's all I got here for us today. As far as what advice you would give someone who's facing consistent rejection.
Um, Rich kind of hit the nail on the head. I would say get to writing though. Write it down.
Yeah.
Get it out of your head. Because when you read it, it looks different.
Mm-hmm. That's
Right?
true.
And then
That's true.
and then begin to plot your course. Right? Plot your course because like Rich said, is it really is it really a is it really a rejection or is it you missing a screw or a bolt and that thing just doing this and it's telling you, hey, I'm missing something. But you're not paying attention to it. You just keep riding it down the street like this. Like, and then you get immune
Or
to it.
will reject you.
You
They
just
will.
you know, somebody get in the car with you and they like, yo, something wrong with your car. You like, nah. So hold on, I got the music to go with that. So now we align some music with that joint. You know what I mean?
See, I don't even know nothing
So,
about that. I don't even know. Now I want to know about it.
so, see what I mean? So now you become immune, and now you start negotiating with yourself on this feels natural. Let me add something else to it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, forget the rejection aspect. So I would just say, pay attention, write it down. I listen. I'm big on sitting with your thoughts.
Mm.
It's not the easiest thing. It's not the most comfortable thing. But think about, you got to be able to sit with your thoughts and you got to figure everything is a system, everything is a process. And you got to understand what your personal operating system is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you want your life operating system to be? Now, I say this with these words. It is a hard thing to do if you haven't gotten started or if you don't know where to start,
Mm-hmm.
especially in business. So if you need something, you know how to holler at us. Hit us on the email or the website. We'd be glad to do a consult and walk you through it. But I would say sit with your thoughts, write some things down, be patient with yourself, and listen to what it is that voice is telling you. Look at the decisions that you've been making and ask yourself, what are those decisions based on? Is it based on fear? And then what kind of fear is it? Is it based on uh, appeasing and pleasing? Because we might be wanting to appease and to please those friendships, those relationships around us, because we have the fear of loss in that regard to us thinking and being different. And that journey might be something that you got to take by yourself, right? And so don't be scared of rejection. Don't be scared of fear. Put it in perspective. And then once you have that outline, then you
Mm-hmm.
seek out um the proper group coach person um to or activity to get it off your chest. You know? Um yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's so important.
I think if somebody is struggling with rejection, they need to take a look at their faith. If as a believer, the Bible says all things work together for our good for those who love the Lord. So if you are struggling with facing rejection, maybe you need to be looking at how much time, again, have you been spending with God? How much quiet time have you had to hear his voice? Is your morning routine the same? A lot of times, you have people who wake up in the morning to spend time with God. How is that looking? Because when they start having issues about the rejection that they're facing and not seeing it as a blessing over their life, a lot of times what I'm seeing is that there's an issue with their faith at that particular time as well. So I think rejection is an opportunity. I think it's something that we should not be afraid of. We shouldn't avoid or run from. I've created something recently called an approval audit. Corey, to your point of people looking to for approval for someone else, and you need to assess like, am I trying to make everybody happy? Because somebody is not gonna like what I've done or said or plan to do. So I think it's one of those things just to continually be mindful of assessing. Why are we feeling this way? um do we want to continue feeling this way? Which way do we want to feel next? And then take actions to make choices and decisions and take actions towards that. And so, Rich, that I really just want to thank you for your time today. I know you're a busy man all up and down the East Coast here. You're an amazing father, amazing husband. You have so many hats and roles you play, yet you decided to be here with us on today. And for that, I'm very grateful for you. Rich, how can we follow? How can we support you? How can we see what you have coming up next?
Yeah, no, for sure. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, so you can definitely check us out on stemplug.com. Instagram handles is the stem plug. And my personal Instagram is Rich Novated, RICHNOVATED. On LinkedIn as well. You can just kind of look up my name. One of the things I would say that I will kind of introduce that we have kind of coming up. Have a lot of different media things that are kind of coming about. Started a kind of new series on Instagram that I'm going to kind of keep going with called like Next Question, where it's just like kind of questions in
Oh,
education. It's
nice.
almost like a press conference style, kind of answering questions around education, just making it fun and engaging, but at the same time, just talking about important things within education. It's kind of a whole entire realm right now of preparation of that to more so deepening our robotics kind of curriculum. So I have a book that is coming up. It's like a learning framework book that's coming out and probably in
Wow.
November called STEM Lit. And STEM Lit is pretty much a learning framework. So this is a book for whether it's parents, after school directors, K-12 teachers, everyone within that realm of just education, even corporate companies. Like, how can we really everything that I just talked about of like being able to help install into the next generation? How can we really go about that, right? Because it's one thing to want to install it into the confidence into the students, but how can we now work together to be able to do the same thing for kids, right? That next generation
Hmm.
point, right? So again, that's going again from that survival mode to sustainability. Survival mode will be me saying that, oh, I'm trying to go teach all the kids in the world. The sustainable part is me training people to have that level of thinking. So that STEM lit book is really trying to make to
Yes.
that point. So
Rich.
yeah,
Now you know what?
I love that.
I
yeah.
was just thinking team building for adults and
Oh
business
yeah,
owners,
yeah, yeah. Yep.
right?
Hmm.
Because if you could teach them how robotics works, they can begin to understand systems,
Yep.
right? And
Mhm.
where the cog might be jammed,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
No, so that's good. All right, we'll keep that definitely in
Yeah,
mind.
so that's a lot. That's a lot of the actually how that's a lot of the work that we've been doing late within STEM Plug is turning more into, how can we make a bigger impact, right? Of like more
Mhm.
trainer, whether it's working with parents or working with educators, preparing them to be able to like teach different things. So teaching them how to fish, so now they can teach how to fish, right? So, but yeah. So
I
more
love fish.
more things more
That's good.
things kind of coming along with that. But also before we left, because when you were talking, Corey, this was kind of on my mind, and I think this will be a good ending point for anybody facing that rejection point. Uh, Block out the noise. All right,
Mhm.
make sure you block out the noise. I feel like social media is great, but it can also be such a hindrance when you get into the point of like comparing your journey to somebody else's. So,
Mm,
that I think that is something important in rejection as well, because you may feel like you're being rejected because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. But if
that's
you
true.
are in your own lane, your own zone, when you're driving on the highway, you don't want to merge into traffic. You don't want to splurge around, right? So just
Yeah.
stay in your lane and understand your destination is for your destination. And I'll
Yeah,
leave it.
thank you. Yeah, I believe in understanding, and if people take the time to read how neurologically, so look up neuroscience on social
Oh yeah.
media and understand what what affects dopamine and how you become addicted to certain things, especially with social media, right?
Mm,
And there's the blue light effect. When the blue light came into when it came into play, it immediately is the background of control because you're not consciously thinking about the blue light on the TV or the computers and or the phones. So I'll pause
mm.
back. I'll peel back from that point. Let some people do some research. But when you create those types of understandings, you'll align it with some of your principles and how you think, and then you can start to understand some of the other areas that was discussed on today's show. So again, we thank you guys for joining today's call. For those that have been watching, for those that are soon to watch, we'll be back in another 2 weeks. Next week, we'll be back with Founders Hour. Took a week
Okay.
off. We'll be back next Thursday with Founders Hour at 1 p.m. So definitely check us out there. And don't forget to get your business health checks. BizTherapyCoaching.com.
That's
Know
right.
where your business is so you can continue to move forward structurally to grow your business. All right. And yeah, I'm just going. I'm a outro us right now.
All right.